Dave,
John,
Shane,
Chad,
these sci-fi guys.
Welcome to these Sci-Fi Guys. I am Dave, and with me is Shane,
Hey, everybody. Happy Memorial Day.
Chad,
Hello, guys.
and John. And John's froze up already. No. John, we can't hear you. You're muted.
Hello. I see I froze up and then I forgot to unmute. I mean, the freeze up was me. The mute was also technically me, but that was unintentional. The freeze was intentional. Oh, well.
If you say so. Okay. Well, today we are going to be discussing a fantastic movie, Iron Man, the first one from 2008.
Yeah.
Woohoo! Woohoo! Yeah, great movie. I'm sure we're going to have a lot of things to discuss about it. I apologize for all of you out there or in YouTube land and Spotify land and Apple land and all that. If you can hear my voice, it's just I'm kind of hoarse a little bit. So just kind of trying to get through the best we can. So let's go ahead and go behind the scenes. Okay, here's a quick plot summary. After being kidnapped by a powerful terrorist organization, brilliant industrialist Tony Stark narrowly escapes using an iron suit he crafted from scrap metal and spare parts. Upon returning home, he devotes all his time and resources to perfecting the Iron Man suit and using it to fight evil, sometimes in the place where he least expected. So there you go. There's your summary of the movie.
I'm always impressed by the summaries.
Yes.
Thanks, IMDb. Okay. This movie was directed by John. I'm not even going to pronounce his name. Favreau. Thank you.
It's happy.
Happy. Yeah. He was happy. I thought that was funny that he played Happy in all those other movies and he directed so many of them.
Yeah.
But that was one thing. He was a fan of the comics and wanted to bring realism to Tony Stark's transformation. He described the film as a high-tech James Bond tech-based movie. So
I'll give him that.
This movie,
Yeah.
What's that? Yeah, kind of. We're not going to go into all the Bond characters. Which one was the best? Sean Connery. Besides that, see, I grew up. My generation. I grew up on Roger Moore. He's the one that I saw most of, and as an adult, I go back and I'm like, oh yeah, he's really not a good James Bond. But
No,
anyway, Connery. And then I think Pierce Bronson was next. But anyway, hey, let's go on.
Yeah. You get me started
Okay.
on-
Let's not get started on that. Yeah, cast him. Hey, maybe we'll do a James Bond one. Hey, Moonraker is a sci-fi one. We can maybe do that one at some point. Okay. Did I mention that this movie was what is it called? Self-financed. It was not any major, like Disney didn't have anything in it. Sony didn't have anything in it at the time. Remember, Disney did not own Marvel at the time. It was financed.
That is true.
Okay. They did a very bold move, and it gave them creative control as opposed to relying on a major studio. The script was not complete when they started filming. Usually that's a bad thing. However, much of the dialogue, especially Robert Downey Jr.'s, was improvised, and it added spontaneity to the scenes. Casting: Robert Downey Jr. was not the obvious choice. Actually, a lot of the producers and some of the other people didn't want him, but Favreau He was like, no. Tony Stark is Robert Downey Jr. Robert Downey Jr.'s his whole life of how he overcame what he overcame needed to be there, and that needed to be in there. And fun fact, I didn't even have it written down here. You know, when he wanted the hamburger, and you'll notice that it was a Burger King bag. That was Robert Downey Jr. insisted that the bag be Burger King.
Oh,
The reason being is because he was so. One evening, he was so, I guess, high, you could say, and wanted. He desperately wanted something to eat and went and got Burger King, and he said it was nasty. It was the most disgusting stuff ever. So everything he had in his pockets, whether it was drugs, whether it was alcohol, whether it was whatever, he went out and threw it in the ocean and said never again, and went cold turkey and never had another any kind of drug or anything after that. So he said that as a thanks to Burger King. He's like, you're the one that helped me get me straight. So
wow.
That's why he insisted it be there. Yeah, I thought that was really cool.
That's a cool story.
Yeah.
And I just thought it was Burger King paying a lot of money to put the ad placement.
Burger King did not pay a cent to it. Yeah. Jeff Bridges. He was very surprised by the basically the improv that was on. He was like, this is a very expensive movie and so much of it is being improv, you know. And he wasn't sure exactly how it was going to go over. Gwyneth Paltrow also was never in any superhero film before that and was impressed by Downey's improv skills. And a lot of the stuff that the two of them together had to talk, a lot of that was improv. And she was able to just basically feed off of him and be able to talk back and forth between the two of them. That's why those scenes with the two of them together just felt very natural.
Didn't he go into a Bond reference, Moneypenny?
At one point, I'm sure. I think I remember him saying that. Okay, the suit. The original Mark I suit was partially practical. It was built by Stan Winston Studios, and it weighed over 90 pounds, and they actually had people wear it. Later versions, like the Mark III, combined real suits with CGI enhancements by Industrial Light and Magic. Robert Downey Jr. wore motion capture. You can see in the bottom right-hand side of the screen, a lot of those motion capture suits for scenes where flying was heavily on CG reliant. All right. This filming primarily took place in California at Edwards Air Force Base. So I was like, oh, okay. I've never been to Edwards. I've got some friends that still, actually, they're civilians and they work out there. But yeah, for any of the military scenes, it was filmed there. Favreau also opted for real explosions, not CGI. He was like, he wants real stuff because that's what's going to make people believe it's believable. Also, whenever they did the HUD, the heads-up display scenes inside the helmet, he was basically filmed. Downey was filmed in a dark room with glowing lights and animated the digital overlays later. I thought that was pretty interesting. Not yet. The line "I am Iron Man" was improv. That was not in the script. And especially because the original comics, no one knew who Iron Man was. They didn't know it was Tony Stark. So that's why they were like, okay, well, it was improv. We like it. Let's go ahead and go from there. You know, they took such a risk on this movie because, you know, you didn't have the big financing ready to go. And, you know, a lot of the stuff was, as we said, improv, you know. So luckily they had some good actors. If they didn't have good actors, then, well, you know, Marvel may have been another DC, you know, the way DC has been, you know, scrambling through their movies. Shane, tell us about this gentleman.
Sure. So this is the film composer. His name is Ramin Djawadi, and he actually is a German Iranian composer. He was best known for doing TV shows such as Prison Break. He did movies like Blade Trinity, Mr. Brooks, and of course later on, as you can see in the background, he did the music for Game of Thrones, which of course turned out to be very, very, very profitable for him. For this specific movie, one of the interesting things is that he really wanted to capture the personality of Tony Stark, and that's why he used a lot of rock references. And really, he blended the orchestra with a lot of heavy metal, a lot of guitars, distortion, a lot of things like that, so he could really bring that stuff out. A lot of the themes in the movie include music by AC/DC, of course. Back in Black is one. There's a bunch of them. But anyway, one of the cool things he actually did was he actually had live guitarists come in to actually play some of the music to go in the score. One of them was Tom Morello, who played for Rage Against the Machine and also Audio Slay. So he was one of the ones who came in and recorded. One interesting fact was that he was actually brought in to do the music for this fairly late into the process. Matter of fact, he only had around 4 to 6 weeks to write the music and also to get it recorded. So very much towards the end, and he did a really good job. But his main thing was he wanted to really have the music to really depict Tony Stark's character, and I really think he did.
Yeah. Oh, I agree. I mean, especially what is it, Black Sabbath's Iron Man that they played at the end credits. You know, I mean, because during the trailers, that's all you heard was that song.
Yeah.
You know, and just so many of them. You know, AC/DC and so many other ones. It's like, yeah, that's definitely. I can see that in his personality. Okay, Rotten Tomatoes. Wrong screen. There it is. 94% with a popcorn meter of 91. Didn't our last movie have the exact same numbers?
I think so.
If not, it was very close.
I think Arrival had almost the exact same numbers. Now, comparing Arrival to Iron Man,
holistically different.
Yeah, exactly.
Apples to oranges.
Yeah. So there was a budget of 140 million. I am not going to ask you guys if it made money because we have the MCU. If we didn't have the MCU, you knew it didn't make any money. So I know you all know it made money. So here's what it made. It grossed 318 million domestic, 266 million international, and for a total of 585 million. You know, This is one of the first movies we've had in a long time where the domestic actually was more than the international was.
Yeah.
Especially that much, like in the millions. Like before it was like, okay, maybe a couple million, but this time it's like, no, almost.
No, this is like 50. This is 52 million.
Yeah.
You know? And this was the initial release. I didn't do all, they re-released it one other time. I only did for the initial release. That's what I'm trying to do on most of these. So, all right, let's go ahead and go to our questions. All right. Question number 1. Is Tony Stark a hero or a product of guilt and ego?
Starting off strong with that one, aren't we, Dave?
Man,
I went ahead. I figure let y'all talk for a little bit while I get some water.
There you go.
Yeah, that's fair. I don't know. I think this one, it's harder to answer knowing, I think, the full context of even this specific cinematic character. But if I contain it within this film, it very much feels like he is a product of more of the guilt and ego as opposed to hero, because we don't really see the full hero-ness fleshed out. And I don't really think that's necessarily what he wanted out of it here at the start. I mean, again, we know he gets to that point. We have a huge character arc over entire sets of films that I think prove him to ultimately be a wonderful hero. But if we look at just this first one, I don't think he is. He's very much just, even still at the end, kind of that just like, no, I'm a rich guy who has this powerful suit. I'm going to do what I want. And even just that improv line of I am Iron Man, like even that at the end is still very much like, I don't care what the world thinks. I'm just throwing myself into it. Here we are. And I definitely think that points to more of that ego that he has in this first film.
I agree. I think that I almost said both, but I really think it is more of a product of guilt. Now, as John pointed out, when you think about the total arc of the character as you're going all the way through the cinematic universe, yes, he does become a hero, and still very much towards the end, an unlikely hero. But I do think that, especially in this one, he sees what his wealth and his company has done, and he does feel guilt for it, and he does want to um rectify that. However, you do see along the way, you do see those glimpses of what he will become, especially like when he's hanging from the ceiling and he has her do the arc have the arc reactor go. That's one of the signs of the things to come, that self-sacrifice, but it's not there yet.
Yeah, I agree with all that. I would never say it was him being a hero, out trying to be a hero. It was more he saw what his weapons doing. It was more out of circumstance and guilt to do all this. Now, if he didn't get captured, I don't think he would created Iron Man. This is what if if he never got that arc in his thing, you would have never seen this movie, or it never would have been created. But the thing is, it was out of guilt of doing it, and you're right. The character art throughout this whole universe, you see Iron Man. He said, "I'm rich. I can do whatever I want. I don't care what you say. I'm going my way."
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah, I really can't add too much more to that from what you guys said. I think, though, he started the transformation to becoming a hero, even though he went there in vengeance. I think at the first, when he saw on the TV and he saw the people that basically captured him and he was going there for them, I think that is when the beginning of his hero arc started, because he was over there trying to save the kids, save the dad, and the people there, not only with those guys, and during when the F-22s were trying to shoot him down, he made sure that the guy's parachute went out.
Mm-hmm.
So, went out. Yeah, whatever that word is. Okay, let's go to the next question. Okay, could we ever build for real an Iron Man suit? Let's say similar to the Mark III.
something
Not
already.
the first one. No, let me rephrase that. Could we build one that is practical? Let's put it that way.
I don't know if you'd ever get one quite like that. I think that the technology is probably a lot further along than we even know. I know that there are, just from listening to other interviews with big tech guys and things like that, and there are some things in the works as far as military grade bodysuits, exoskeletons, things like that. But I don't think there's a way to quite get to what that is. At least not in my lifetime, I would say. Now later on, who knows? The way the technology jumps, I mean, it could jump a good bit. But at the same point, I just don't see that yet.
Yeah, I agree with you that Shane with that Shane. I don't. If they had to do anything with a suit like this, I don't think it'll be the Mark III. It might be even Mark I or the replica that he was fighting, the bigger one, because I don't think they will get it down to what it is. If they ever come out with something like this right now in our timeline, it might be the Edge of Tomorrow exoskeleton, where it's just as an attachment, like you see there, or even off the Matrix, defending the Zion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I kind of agree that I don't necessarily think we would go for it, but in terms of if we could, I definitely think we can create something like this. I just don't think it's where we're trying to go, because if we were, I think we'd probably already have it. Maybe not the arc reactor. I think we can scrap that altogether. But and we may have that one day too, but I know we're not going to get it chest size and rocking a suit with it. But in terms of just that idea of an Iron Man suit, I think we could get there, but I don't think it's practical in terms of military application, and that's why I don't think we'll end up doing it, because you spend a lot more money with a full coverage suit with that much tech on the inside. I think that would be rather difficult. I do see us going like huge, like you guys said, that kind of exoskeleton, which I know we already are working on that development. I could also see us going more, the mech style where we have those kind of like a fighting bot that we could also man from outside. But in terms of Iron Man, full on titanium, strong metal suit with high technology on the inside just for one person. I mean, we technically do that with jets, but I don't see us doing it with the suit.
Yeah, I think the biggest problem is power. We don't have the arc reactor. So to be able to power a suit as well as he did, you would need something, basically some kind of like nuclear power plant or something in it, and that's just not feasible. But as you guys all said, there are exosuits out there. There's other things where they're strap on to you. I could see them doing something like that, but like you said, with all that tech, probably not. Okay, well, this is one I didn't send you guys. I'm going to ask it anyway. What cool feature would you have in your own Iron Man suit? I mean, would you have like, hey, I'd be able to get Spotify no matter where I'm at. I'd have,
Oh, I'll go with this. So, but one cool feature, yeah, you said Spotify would be one big loudspeaker coming through, like you hear off the what is that? What's that movie? Vietnam movie coming on there in the chapter, playing Valkyrie coming in on you.
Oh yeah, I know the movie. I can't think of it right now. My head's all clogged.
Yeah.
What about you, Shane?
I don't know. This is hard. I would think some kind of stealth mode, like if you could go into kind of like what an F-22 might have or something like that, or even the F-35s, some kind of stealth mode to where when you're going, you're not able to be picked up by radar and things. And it may already have that. It's just this particular one didn't talk about it, but I think that would be a necessary thing.
So you stole mine. I was going to say have like the Predator, be able to go completely invisible.
Yeah. Yeah.
John, how about you?
I think mine would be somehow to streamline the flight process, because I would just want to fly in that always, all the time. Maybe even like a outer shell that you could kind of slot into that is a plane, like you could just kind of float up into. Because I feel like holding your hands behind you the whole time would get kind of troublesome and be kind of annoying. So maybe some kind of way to make that easier. Or my really stupid answer is I would want like a game mode where like the helmet just becomes this immersive screen, and the outer parts and weapons of the suit just become like game controllers. I would take that all day. Give me like a duck hunt in the suit, or just actual video games in the suit. I'd be down.
Yes.
I try to get.
I want to start laughing because. Oh man, if I start laughing, I'll start coughing. So let me go with a little bit more of a serious question then. That's pretty funny, John. Okay. What are the implications of a private individual developing military grade technology?
Danger.
I mean, we don't get into it too much in this movie, but it gets hit hard in Iron Man 2.
Yes. I think the issue I think it would depend on the country, first of all, is what I'll say there. But if we're talking the US, I definitely think that person would be monitored far before they kind of made it to that point, which Tony was monitored and he was selling weapons. It's the kidnapping that kind of spurred this. But after that kidnapping, I think I would have had a even much closer eye from our government on him before he even developed this suit. Like, I think they would know about it far before that. But outside of that, I think the implications kind of run two ways. And I definitely think we see part of this play out. Either they would find them and try to use as a weapon. But I think if the Iron Man was in another country, I think it would almost be like a rallying point. Like, okay, now we have this great weapon. Let's rise up and do something with it. I could definitely see that being more of a thing. Here in the U.S., if it wasn't rich Tony Stark who was already working with the military, I could also see them like just absolutely crushing it and destroying it immediately before trying to replicate it themselves.
I think it depends on the individual, kind of like what John was talking about. Think if you have somebody that has that kind of capability, and they are already trying to do some things for good, even though Tony's motives were a little skewed at first. But I think if you have somebody that is already trying to do good with this knowledge and with this technology, then it can be a really great thing. But I think also, on the other hand, if you have somebody that is looking to not do something good and trying to use it for their own self benefit, or even as a revenge tactic, you could get into kind of a excuse me, sort of a person that becomes kind of a vigilante, and you could actually really cause a lot of harm, because if you're that far advanced, what is the military going to do to stop you, kind of thing, I guess. So it could go both ways. It kind of depends on the individual.
Yeah, I agree with that. There's certain individual might working with the military, but if you not no ties to them, I don't think they ever even let it go. They go past phase 2 or even into phase 1.
Mm-hmm.
They figured it out.
Mm-hmm.
So there's not much that for me to add to it.
Yeah, it depends on. I mean, I think it all goes back to, it depends on the person. You know, I think Shane knocked it right on the head. You know, that, you know, if this person is kind of unhinged or whatever, the military is going to slap it down immediately if they can. You know, if like in this movie, you know, the F-22s couldn't even touch it half the time. You know, so, but they know where Tony lives, and now that he's said who he is and just told the world, like, come on, bring it on, you know, which was a dumb move. But anyway.
Very arrogant move.
Very arrogant. Very arrogant. Okay, if you had to replace Jarvis's voice with any celebrity, what voice would you have it replaced with? Whose voice?
Oh, I took that question in a different way. Because the way that, or I thought you was talking about, or any other AI.
No, I mean, if you had Jarvis, you had the suit, and he talks to you all the time, blah 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 blah, blah, you know, hey Chad, you know, whatever. And what celebrity voice would you want the one talking in your ear?
So I would say I've got two voices. One of them is more of a serious note, and I would, for that one, I would probably want the voice of Denzel Washington in my head. It would just always be very, very, very inspiring, I feel like. Then if you're going to go the comedic route, I think that having Kevin Hart in your ear the whole time would be hilarious.
No.
Having Kevin Hart as Jarvis, I think, would be hilarious.
Oh my goodness!
Oh my god! So, if I had to go to serious route, I'll do James Earl Jones talking to his Vader, or do this if it like I always enjoy playing the series Halo. Have Cortana be the Jarvis.
Okay.
Elmo, no further questions, Your Honor. I'm just kidding. Morgan Freeman, 100% would be my go-to. Who else would you really want? Morgan Freeman's perfect for any narration, which honestly I agree with both of the other two serious choices you guys had, because all three of those guys would sound great as Jarvis.
Yeah.
For crying out loud.
That's who I'd have. Richard Dean Anderson. You know, get MacGyver talking to you, telling you, hey, you can fix this, and then you got, you know, Colonel Jack O'Neill saying, come on, we got these big honking guns, you know. Kind of a little bit of best of both worlds there. Part of me actually thought about Leonard Nimoy.
Mm.
Oh, there we go.
You know, in his Spock voice. I just think that would be. But I'm afraid that would get old. You know, either that, and if you want comedic, I would say Sheldon. You know, have Sheldon in there as a comedic. You know,
Yeah, I could see that.
yeah. I don't know where my Bazinga.
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 My thing in here. It's in here somewhere. But oh, here it is.
Zinga.
So, yeah. Okay. That was the last of the funny questions. This one actually, I'm interested to know who would win in a suit off. Iron Man, Batman with the gadgets, or Boba Fett, and why?
Mm. Mm. Mm.
I'm honestly, I think I'm going to knock Boba Fett out early. I think he has the no quit attitude that would be real useful. But in terms of the gadgets the other two have, I don't think he especially stands as much of a chance against those weapons, even though he has the laser weapon. Like, I don't know. To me, he seems much more limited with a jetpack and a laser weapon or bare minimum a staff. Now, his armor is pretty solid. Like, it might take a while, but I think they would get there against him fairly quick. Now, between the other two, I think it gets much harder because Batman definitely wins on the stealth and actual fighting because he was trained in that. Whereas Iron Man definitely has, I think, the better tech.
Mm-hmm.
However, Iron Man has he gains fighting experience, but he has no like true fighting style, which to me kind of gives Batman the upper edge because I think Batman could lay a solid trap and then use his gadgets because Batman has plenty of the gadgets as well. And I know Iron Man has like Mach knows how many suits that could help him, including probably some stealth suits along the way. But to me, Batman just lays a better trap, is a little smarter, has an actual fighting style. And to me, that gives Batman the advantage if we're talking about these three guys. So for me, I'm going to say Batman with like just the smallest sliver edge of an advantage.
Well, I thought about it. I am sorry, but I gotta go with Star Wars on those. Boba Fett, at least with the best car and at least the can-do attitude, I think he'll have a better edge of a Batman. Same thing with I'll just say Boba Fett because of the somebody's got to say him.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Shane.
So I have been a huge Batman fan my entire life. Huge Batman fan. And I think the way John put it, I think was perfect. There is no doubt that Iron Man has the better tech. There's no doubt about that. And that's definitely a big advantage. But I think if you dig a little deeper to Batman's moral compass is a little more little darker, I would say. And he's kind of willing to go in a little bit more of that vigilante win at all cost kind of scope. And I could see that being a big advantage also. I think just his darker character is something that might give him more of a fighting chance, even though the tech is more on the Tony Stark side.
Wow. I wasn't expecting those answers, really. I knew Chad was going to pick Boba Fett because also, if you read the comics, Boba Fett is the only non-Force user to go head-to-head with Darth Vader and fight him to a draw. So Boba Fett has got some street cred, let's just say. Batman also. Batman, like the things that you both said, I'm going to pick Iron Man. The reason I'm picking Iron Man, one, is because, he's going to have all the suits and all that. Yeah, that's fine. But he's got an AI with him all the time. He's got Jarvis. And I think Jarvis is enough to put him over the edge than having Alfred talk to Batman, Mm-hmm. And it depends. It really depends on which version of Batman we're talking about. If we're talking about the Dark Knight, or are we talking about, obviously we're talking about like the Batman v Superman type,
Yes.
some of the with the big suits where he went round and round with Superman.
I'll say
You know.
modern Batman, not 53 series Batman.
Right.
I am
It's
Batman.
that 63 series. Thank you. You're
Not my
you're
bad.
talking,
Because I'm Batman.
That's from how should it ended. So, that Batman is one of the best. I love him when they on that. If you guys don't get a chance to watch that, but yeah, I would go with Iron Man just because I just think that having, I think Jarvis would be able to, look for weaknesses in Batman's fighting style and all that, and be able to change up stuff on the fly.
That's fair.
Not so much. Batman is going to do all of his research. He's going to be ready for it. But then Iron Man's going to be able to. I mean, look at the movie. The whole movie was half of him improvising anyway. So, I just.
I mean, listen, one solid EMP and Iron Man's out though.
Fair.
So would Batman be, but then Batman would get the advantage of not having the suit, and he could fight without it. So, I mean, it's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other.
Yeah,
You
honestly.
only live.
I mean, it's a personal preference. It really is, So we didn't say MPs, so that's why I went with that. Okay, let's look at plot holes. Okay, plot holes. Anybody see any? Want to talk about them? I saw a whole bunch.
Yeah.
There's a lot out there.
Can we start with the
Hold on.
basics of surviving the desert? And
Yes.
I'll leave that one just kind of there because that's a huge impact, even with the suit, let alone
Yes.
How
the
in the
fact
world
that
did they
the
find
eyes are
him
just open.
and the suit? And how could he build the arc reactor out of scrap metal?
Yep.
No.
That kind of stuff. That's a little far fetched.
And then also
He may have
the
been-
open heart surgery with just in his garage. Like, no, also not
Yeah.
happening. My man's gone.
Yeah.
He's dead. Those are my two.
Yeah. Okay. Anybody else? Somebody else. Come on.
Y'all really hit mine. I'm trying to think about a couple others too. I think that the thing about the arc reactor, I would have liked to have had a little bit more talked about it, especially more towards the end when they really kind of figured out how important it was. And then in later movies, they kind of get into it a little bit more, especially in Iron Man 2. They kind of get into the significance of the arc reactor. But I would have liked to have had a little more emphasis on it, I think.
Okay. Chad?
Y'all hit at least a couple. I don't.
Can we talk about his car, his Audi? Towards the end of the movie, when he leaves and Roddy gets in his Audi to go drive, and Pepper gets in the same car from a totally different place. And the reason I know that is because each of them had the license plate that said Stark 5. So, to me, I'm like, how could you have the same car be in two separate places at once? I know it was sponsored by Audi because if you notice all the cars that came up close, like when they caught the one, you notice it was an Audi. So, that's the only car he ever drives is an Audi. How did Stone get away with so much without raising any flags?
Somebody in the company.
Yeah.
I mean, my question is like, why didn't he go out to like you saw Tony saw all his weapons at the terrorist camps? Like, I would have been going, how did they get them? Why did they get them? Oh, let's see where. Let's go through our stuff. Like,
yeah, that kind of stuff. And then I guess my biggest one is, and John hit on it earlier, how he could fly so easily, so quickly, and not have any, I mean, okay, he practiced with it a little bit, but to outfly F-22s, I mean, come on, you're breaking the sound barrier and you're still keeping your hands like this the whole time, things like that are just, they were just a little bit too far-fetched. So they're not fatal flaws, but they were flaws that were in the movie.
Yes.
So let's go ahead and rate this. If you guys want to make this segment short, I can, because I already put on the spreadsheet that we all are going to rate it a 5. I'm pretty much sure that we're all going to rate it a 5. If you have anything less than a 5, speak up.
I have a 0. I'm just kidding. No.
Wow.
It was going to be a 5.
Wow.
It's going to be a 5. So,
I mean, I just kind of figured. I mean, it was a fantastic movie. It began the whole MCU. You know.
Yep.
Yeah.
Don't you know? Let's not
so if
get
nothing
wrong.
else, it deserves credit for that. I mean, that makes it
yeah.
a 5 in
Yeah.
of itself.
Yeah.
Well,
Without-
I mean, there was Incredible Hulk. Was the first
No.
one really?
Yeah,
Well,
we don't talk about
Did-
Bruno though there.
Because if you go to the after credits scene, it's got Tony Stark there talking to.
I know.
Yeah. But this is the one that kicked it off. This
I
is
will
the one
also
that
say
makes
this was the golden era of CGI.
Yes.
Like it amazes me that in 08 we were doing better than we are in like 25, and we talked about that before. In time constraints, companies pace on these artists and all, but man, they did so good, especially early on in the MCU, and this is a huge testament to that.
Yeah, I mean, it
Yeah.
really was fantastic. Go ahead, Chad.
Yeah, it really was a great testament to the CGI, even for just starting off to kick off this MCU universe. It was a great movie, and yeah, it would have been. I would say the 5. So yeah, I agree with everything. So yeah, This was a whole lot better than what the DC was what the movies they were putting out.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Yeah, unfortunately for DC is Marvel did it first, you know, and Marvel did it better.
Better.
You know, they and the work, and this is the funny part is that so much of this movie was improv that it's like, what if it would have been bad? We wouldn't have the MCU. We wouldn't have all this other stuff. And but it turned out that this was a fantastic movie. It turned out that, you know, Robert Downey Jr. was the perfect Tony Stark.
Mhm.
Now, stuff coming out here in 26 where we have Robert Downey Jr. as Dr. Doom, and I don't know how that all is going to work out. We'll see. You know, we saw Thunderbolts. Shane and I did the other day or a couple weeks ago, and there's an after credit scene on there. And spoiler alert: if you don't want to hear it, shut us off now. But if you don't care, listen up. And then they're meeting up with the Fantastic Four. And I kind of knew it was coming because I was watching the credits. I actually was watching them, and where I'd like to look at the songs to see who sang what and all that. And then it said Fantastic Four theme song. And I was like, why is that on there? They didn't play the Fantastic Four theme song. And then I was like, oh, okay, it's going to come in the credits. And supposedly this is a multiverse type thing, you know, because the Fantastic Four is from another reality where Dr. Doom is in that reality, and they're all going to be like, it's Tony, no, or something. I don't know how that's all going to work out. So we'll see. Okay, are we able to fix this? Does it need fixing? Let's discuss. Does it need fixing? Does it need improving? I mean, Shane already mentioned earlier he wanted to know more about the arc reactor.
I think later on too, and this is just this is not really a fix. This I just think would have kind of foreshadowed a little bit more when you're getting into like Age of Ultron and things like that later on. But just the importance of Jarvis and what all Jarvis could do and everything like that. Because we kind of just look at it as like, oh, it's like Siri on steroids in this movie. But I think kind of laying the groundwork for the importance of what Jarvis is could have been something. But as far as really fixing anything, I don't really see a lot.
No, I mean, there's no point in trying to. I mean, you said it right. This is more. It was an improv movie. There's no sense if you gonna critique and trying to fix. You critiquing the characters right there and might change stuff up that where it might not make sense. To improve it, yeah, I agree. Go the more with Jarvis. Go and say, hey, this is what Jarvis can do, and explain more about the arc reactor when he was trying to show him when he was making the new one. That way, hey, this is going to power my suit. It's going to last a whole lot longer than what this one was.
Yeah. We'll say also that I think this film composer, even though he might not have been necessarily trying to do this, he really set the groundwork for these very strong character themes that have lasted throughout the MCU. And I think that even though the movie probably would have been a success without it, without having those strong musical themes to start this off, I don't think you would have gotten into what you see in later movies as far as the musical themes go.
Yeah, I think the only thing I would have fixed is just, I think we talked about it with some of the plot, just the minor plot holes in the cave. And then when he escaped the cave, it just seemed way too easy that, they found him that quickly. He should have said, hey, I got a homing chip inside of me for if this ever came about, or just one throwaway lines or something, just so he can, hey, I know they're out there searching for me, oh, we're underground. That's why my signal's not getting out or something, and then he got out. When he was outside, his signal started picking up or something, I'm just throwing that out there, but just something, just kind of fix the whole, how he actually got away, after, he built the Mark I and was able to blast his way out, and just that whole shooting up and landing that he would have been dead. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
With the little rockets that, maybe just make him go off the ground like 5-10 feet and get away. But that whole, going up that high, that's the only thing I didn't care for. John, do you get anything else?
I mean, my biggest thing comes down to kind of pacing. I think I would have liked to seen the cave just be a little shorter. But I think if we look at this film as a whole by itself, I would have liked maybe, if not shorter, at least more action scenes, especially getting to see the suit in action a lot more powerfully. However, knowing what we got later, it doesn't bother me at all.
Why was it that at the end when he said his power was so low? I mean, did the suit just not have time to charge, or was there I don't remember why his suit was so low.
He was using the old arc reactor.
Oh, that's true.
No.
Yeah.
Remember,
is that what it was?
Yeah, he was using the old one because the guy took out the new one and then left him to die in his living room.
Right.
Okay. That's why the power was so low. Okay.
Jarvis did tell him, hey, this is not going to power. This suit is not. This thing was not made for this suit. It'd be running. You will have less power.
Yeah.
Okay, I missed that part. I mean, I was wondering why they did that, why they mentioned that, but I was trying to remember why. Okay, cool.
Direct to Enterprise.
Please contact us. Tell us if you agree with our ratings, or how you would fix or improve this movie, or if there's a movie that you would like us to review. The easiest way to do that is if you're watching us on YouTube is to comment below. For those of you that are audio-only listeners, you can reach us on either X or Facebook at TheseSciFiGuys. Or you could email us, TheseSciFiGuys@gmail.com. All right, so who picked out our next movie? That should be
me.
Chad. Chad, you picked out the next movie. Do you remember what it was?
Nope.
I'll give you a hint. James Bond. Sean Connery.
League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. Yes, that's what we're doing next. I just remember the car. This car was awesome. That was a big thing on my on that. And I always ask the question, why do they have a girl if it's gentlemen? But who knows? It's one of those things.
Yeah.
So, Hopefully we'll enjoy that movie. I haven't seen it acting in years. I think the last time I saw it was in the theater when it first came out. So again, when was it done? Was that like early 2000s, late
Early
early
2000s.
2000s? Yeah, something like that. All right. Who knows? Well, everyone, just remember, no matter where you go, there you are. Until next time.
Crash and burn.
The Sci-Fi Guys is an independent broadcast by the Sci-Fi Guy Productions. For more information on upcoming episodes, follow us on Twitter or X at the Sci-Fi Guys. For our audio-only listeners, you can find us on Spotify and Apple Podcast. Like, subscribe, or leave a comment to let us know how we're doing.